Happy holidays, friends. Grab your presents and your bows. It's another Fake Nerds Watch with the Fake Nerd family. I'm Ryan. I'm joined by my best friends in the world as always. We got Brandon up top.
Hello.
I got Ben over there.
Where are the bows? I heard there are bows here.
Ben, it's a show called Hawkeye. We got Sparks right here.
Hey.
And we got a special guest, Forrest, joining us for the first half of Hawkeye.
Hello.
We are talking about Hawkeye, the first 3 episodes. You can tell we're a little late, but we're here halfway through the season. Marvel's newest show, just in time for Christmas, just in time for Spider-Man, just in time for Kingpin. Does not stop talking on Twitter. How's it going, everybody?
It's going all right. I'm glad we're doing this. We had some schedule, like Ryan alluded to, some schedule issues trying to get this one out. So it is late, but we're 3 episodes. So get ready for 3 episodes.
If I'm being honest, I'm glad we waited.
Yeah, I was watching. Yeah, those first 2 episodes. Let's just get right into it. Those first 2 episodes, not great.
I think they're fine.
They're fine.
I think they're good. I enjoyed watching them, but they're the weakest at first. The first of the first episodes of all the shows, it's my least favorite first episode for sure.
Yeah,
and it's not like it's bad, but let's you've had an entire year of MCU. It's fine.
Yeah.
Episode 3.
You wanted to say something though?
Oh, I was just thinking about what he said. I was like, would I agree it was the first worst episode? And
that's not to say it's bad.
No, I get you. I was thinking about all the first episodes and I stalled on Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm like,
I like
pretty
that
good.
one.
That's a pretty good first episode. It had issues in the second episode.
Mm-hmm.
First episode's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we get our new guy to say something? Hi, Forrest.
Hello. The first few episodes didn't really grab me too much, especially the first one. I kind of glazed through the first one a bit. The second one kind of had the same sort of energy, but the third one I thought picked it up pretty well.
I will admit that due to circumstances of just what was going on in my life, I did end up watching the entire first episode twice, and I did enjoy it more the second time with context of things in the second, I guess. I do think I think the setup is good, but not executed in an engaging way for the dynamic of Jack at her home. I do mean just in the first episode. I don't think it grabs you with, hey, this I knew because I know he's the swordsman, but I don't think it gets your attention and goes, this is an important detail in something that we're building, and you should think about this in a certain way.
Well, they treat it like they treat all their new villains. He's just a guy who knows who he'll be. Right. But he's not.
But they do something really egregious with Jack that I noticed, where it's they introduce him as just a guy, but they do it in the way where I felt this way anyway, and I don't know if you guys did. They do it in a way where it felt like they were winking at the audience, who he'll be, and that didn't work for me.
In a way, I know what you mean. Where he's portrayed as a regular guy, but he's hey, there's something special about this guy, right? He's got a little something extra. And
question for those who read the run: does he have that creepy mustache in the books as well?
He's had that mustache for decades, Ben.
Okay, I did not know.
Yeah,
he's barely in Fraction's run. He's in an issue. Good issue.
Yeah.
I read. I don't know how much I'll call back to it, but I did read Fraction's run before the show dropped. I kind of set out to do it, and I realized 2 days before I was like, oh shit, I haven't done it yet. So I did. I read it in 2 days. Very good. I don't know how much I'll go back to that run a lot, but I did have that context going into the show.
I for better or worse, I think it takes just enough. It doesn't take enough, in my opinion. It takes the bare necessities, if you will.
Yeah, there's things that I noticed in the first episode, Detective Coddle and Grills, and in name only.
Yeah,
what are you doing?
That stuff. I knew they were never gonna do that comic because my biggest problem, honestly, you guys, and I'm probably alone on this. I just don't particularly care for Jeremy Renner anymore. If I'm being honest, I think especially if you're gonna do the Fraction Hawkeye, which turns that character into a young, really bumbling, fun character. This is not that character. This is not that character whatsoever.
Look, I mean, realistically, and I think it makes sense because of how few of these movies he's actually been in.
Yeah.
When you think about it, he's really. I've only really liked Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye in Age of Ultron.
I like him for that one scene.
He's just kind of Jeremy Renner doing
He's
Hawkeye
got
stuff.
He's got divorced dad energy, which is not Hawkeye's energy.
Right. Yeah. And Age of Ultron is the one time where I feel like you get a lot more of the dynamic of him. And he's I think, correctly noted as one of the better parts of that movie for sure. And I don't think that enough of that version of him gets to come out in this script.
I will I won't push back a whole lot on that argument because I also really, I mean, you guys know I love Age of Ultron. So like, I love him in Age of Ultron. I also really like him when he shows up in Civil War. He's got that scene with Wanda that I think harkens back to Civil War. I really like that scene, but outside of that, I will agree that while he's always been written consistently, he hasn't really always been written with enough to do in the movies to be more than just a supporting player.
He is Hawkeye in a sense that he is the regular guy on the team, but the difference is the Hawkeye in the comics is oozing personality and charm. And every woman falls in love with him. That's why he's dated like Black Widow and all of these other people. Like he's dated everybody. And it's just like, I'm so glad. I'm negative on Jeremy Renner. I'm so positive on Kate Bishop. I think that is perfect casting, like truly excellent casting. I love Haley Steinfeld so much. She gets that character so well. The young socialite who is really good at everything. I think she pulls that off exceptionally well. I love her.
I agree 100%. And I want to dig into Kate, but I want to respond to something you were saying about Hawkeye there, which is that I think I mostly agree with what you're saying. I think I've just let go of that Hawkeye so long ago at this point that I'm like,
But here's the thing. I don't find him fun in this show.
No,
I think he's just a boring dude sitting at a table like, I don't want to pay for my meal. Like, it's not exciting to me.
I agree about a lot of that. I think this is I think it almost comes out when he's with the kids. I think Jeremy Renner's actually doing a pretty good job when he had the few scenes he had with his kids, where he's trying to like, we're going to make this the best Christmas ever because y'all were dead for 5 years. So here we go. And I think that when he's there is when he shines as far as like having a lot of presence and personality. But I agree. Like he's not having a lot of fun. I did like the decision to like, if he's already this like put upon person, to throw him into the LARP scene was a great use of just like, reenact this battle. And he's like,
I
do. That scene does work. Yeah.
I think playing. Go ahead.
My point with that being like, I'm glad that there are glimmers where I think they're writing to the Hawkeye they have, not the Hawkeye that could be.
No, that's true. And when you have 6 hours to flesh out a character, I just thought like they do with the Marvel shows, they dive into that personality a little bit more, and I just don't feel like we're learning anything new about Hawkeye.
Yeah,
that's actually a really good point. I don't necessarily agree on the thing of like I want him to be more like the Hawkeye in the comics. Yeah. But there is something that you said that I do agree with. That we're not learning anything new about Hawkeye, and we've had less than a movie's worth of screen time with this guy in the entire 10 years that we've known him, and in this show, like we expect of the other MCU shows, we learn more about them. Think about how much we learned about Wanda and her 6 hours. Like think about how much we learned about even like Bucky, and we got a character arc for Bucky's kind of. Yeah. But like in this one, it's just kind of we're still following a guy who feels like he had his whole character arc just done.
Piggybacking off that point, I think that the problem that I'm seeing with the show as far as like doing something like that is that there's a clearly good kernel in there in like Kate talking to him about your problem is branding and like, why can't you accept you're a role model and icon? I just don't think the second half of the show is going to pay that off though. I think it's just going to be like, that's just who he is. And that's the end of the conversation. It's not developing something that's going to be an interesting answer to that question. Or a change in Hawkeye about his perception of himself.
Yeah, and I think there are things that I do really like about Renner's performance in this. There, like what Spark said about how when they play to the kind of put upon Avenger that he's been playing, like when they play to that, like how'd you lose your hearing? Smash cut to the 3 times he was in an explosion.
That's good. Yeah.
I thought that was really funny. Who can say? Like in the LARP scene, like I think when we're doing that sort of thing, that's kind of where Renner should exist as Hawkeye. That's kind of where he's always been. That's kind of where the writers should play to their strengths. But they try to inject a lot more of the of something else, and it's not necessarily the comic book Hawkeye, but it is some of that, and it's some of this. And so they're trying to inject ingredients that Renner is just not willing to play with, I guess.
That's
just not
the thing.
happening.
Yeah. It's just not the same. It's just not the same character, which is fine, which is okay.
Yeah.
It's just when I think of that run, they're really giving a lot of the Clint stuff to Kate in this season, which is fine. Again, like there's also Hawkeye Freefall, which is by Matthew Rosenberg and Otto Schmidt, which is about Ronan has come back to New York City, taking out crime, and Hawkeye has to investigate. And then Kate shows up and it's a whole thing. That's a cool story. I'm into that story, and making Kate that character, which is different from the run, makes sense. And that's how you interweave them together. Like I'm into all that. I like the Tracksuit Mafia a lot. They're very surface level.
Yes, they are.
They're super fun, but like I'm so glad that we get to episode 3, guys, because like episode 3 for me, it's just now like it feels like a Daredevil show, and I'm on board. I'm so on board. Episode 3 was it, baby.
When the Tracksuit Mafia shows up in the show, I remember thinking to myself at the end of the first episode, and then at the end of the second episode, I also thought the same thing. But I was like, they don't say bro enough.
It's super funny because they say it, but like the thing in the comics is like they say it literally after every sentence.
Yeah,
it's like it's annoying how much they say it.
It's their period.
It's their period. Yeah. And they are charming, and like they are a means to an end, because now we realize like there actually is like a bigger threat. With Echo.
If there's never a time in this season where one of them goes bro, because they do that all the time in the comic, where they're like, bro,
they start it and end it.
Yeah. It's like they're referring to a different bro, and then
bro, don't do it, bro.
Yeah, right? No. I mean like the two like bro, comma bro.
Yeah.
Like, and it's two different meanings of bro, and if they don't do it, I'm gonna be like, what are we doing?
I don't want to talk too much about episode 3 though. So let's keep it at episode 1 and 2.
Do you have anything to say about 2 episodes? You've kind of been going.
The first 2 episodes, I mean, I enjoyed. I remember Brandon putting out a tweet before I saw the first episode of Hawkeye how the fight choreography isn't the best, and I kind of agree.
I want to get to that. Get to that.
You're absolutely right. The fight choreography is not that good. I mean, it's passable, but at the same time, it's just we've seen better. But all the stuff with Kate, I loved, and the stuff where like the LARPing scene with Jeremy Renner, I kind of agree, because Jeremy Renner is back with his kids. It's like, cool, he gets to be a family man, but then he's suffering through this play that you can tell he absolutely hates.
Ant-Man's in the Rogers, the musical, and he's like, he wasn't there.
Yeah, I like that part. But
that was
all
funny.
the stuff with Kate, I absolutely love. Like when we first see her and she's doing the bet about shooting the arrows and she destroys the clock tower.
I love it.
It's like, oh no, Kate, what did you do?
I love Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop.
I love the conversation after that because like she did a really bad thing there, but she doesn't take responsibility until she has a conversation with her mom, and he's like, you have been young and rich your entire life and you don't know anything other than that, so you have no you can't take responsibility for anything. And then she's like, oh shit, no, you're right. And I like that, like her goal is like, oh, that's a superhero, I need to impress him, that makes me a good person. And I'm like, I love the arc that I could see her going to be going on to like try to get his approval, not actually need it, because she just needs to approve herself in a way, you know. I really love her character, and she's so fun. The action is fine. Yeah,
I do want to talk about the action scenes, because like there's a certain standard that the MCU hits when it comes to like action scenes. They've got good action choreographers. Look, Shang-Chi came out this year with incredible action sequences. I'm not saying get that guy; he's dead, unfortunately. But like, you can still have like
we're putting like the highest tier of their fight scenes still discussion here. I'm just saying,
but still, like I've seen Renner do good fight sequences.
Don't go to the movies. Go to the TV shows. Go to Falcon Winter Soldier. Those fight scenes are considerably better than the show has.
Yeah, like going to like Falcon Winter Soldier, like, and so like, but the thing is, the reason why I compared the movies and the show, so the reason why I went to the movies, and Falcon Winter Soldier definitely goes to the shows, but like when Feige and company keep telling us that the same team who are working on the movies are working on these shows, there is no disconnect. It is the same level, and I'm like, I'm not seeing it, guys. The fight choreography in Hawkeye, I don't feel like any of those punches land. This stuff, there's so many sequences where we're just holding on something, and I'm like, this should be really cool, because Kate Bishop, like, there's some funny moments with the action sequences with like the the wine bottle getting kicked up and hitting it. But like,
I like the bottles.
Yeah.
but and so like when they have like weapons, like the arrow stuff, I think is pretty cool. But like most of like the hand-to-hand stuff is really boring and not well shot and not well choreographed. It's just kind of nothing.
I do think I do agree. I think the standard of the MCU is pretty high. I don't think any of it is bad. I just think it is like we've seen better dozens of times.
Yeah.
I think the fencing scene's pretty good. I love a good fencing fight.
Yeah, I think
the fencing scene's pretty cool. I'll walk back a bit for that.
Yeah. I think that is the best fight though. But
the fencing scene, and of course, it's like obviously when we first meet Jack for the very first time, he's bad guy. I mean, that's just you take one look at it and you go, you baddie, you villain, you evil. It's just he oozes. I mean, credit to the actor because even just being the first time he walks on stage or on screen, excuse me. And you just look at it.
You watched the wrong show.
I think I did. Well, how did anyone else get their tickets for Rogers? But yeah, the first time Jack walks, you see him on screen, you just instantly, it's like, ooh, you bad, you villain. I don't like you.
Sparks, agree.
Is he though?
Sparks, you want to say something about the fight, correct?
Yeah, I was gonna admit that honestly, maybe this is where I have to admit it's not a bias, but like a tolerance level of reduction because I keep up with all the CWDC shows. And like, to me, I'm like, I don't know, this is pretty good compared to what I see garbage in, garbage out a lot of the time.
You dive into the bucket though? Yeah. We don't dive into the bucket.
I'm acknowledging, I think maybe I've ruined my standards.
Bro, I was watching,
I
came down to watch one of the CW shows you were watching. Not even, none of the levels.
No, right, exactly. That's what I mean. Like, that's why I'm like, I don't know. That was good enough
to the MCU standards.
Yes, I get it. It's like that is one of those things where like the TV show kind of gets me because I'm like, no, I'm in TV mode. And trust me, for TV mode, this is pretty good.
Yeah,
and like,
that's the point.
I get it. I'm not as impassionately there. I'll admit.
Yeah.
I think most of the time the fight scenes have utilized weapons and done better, so it hasn't come up too much and not enough to be I acknowledge it's there, but not enough to be a major detractor to me. But I hear you. I agree. Like I'm not as impassioned about it.
I will say that about the first two episodes. I think episode 3 for me mostly lands all.
I think Echo has a lot of good movies.
The action with Echo and stuff because it's a different director.
There's a leg sweep in there that's really beautiful,
and there's a leg block with her amputated leg where she blocks like a punch and he's like, what?
Yeah,
it's so good. God.
No,
anything else in the first 2 episodes before we get to like the hot one?
Yes. There is something, however, that I am impassioned about. I do not understand how you get the songwriters from Frozen for all of WandaVision, but you don't get them for one song that's supposed to be the Hamilton stand-in equivalent of the New York moment of Rogers the Musical. How? That song sucks. That was such a you want to talk about like
the
MCU
musical
quality? Like we just watched Spider-Man 2 and 3, where you see Mary Jane in off-Broadway shows with better set and costume design than this stupid
15
piece
years
of shit
ago
Broadway musical about the heroes who just saved everybody from Thanos. Are you shitting me?
And like,
it looks so goofily bad. It looks like High School Musical.
Now, it reminded me more of like the Avatar in Avatar: The Last Airbender. They watched that play of themselves.
It's
that's
so
the vibe
it's so silly. And
that.
even if you want to do that, that's fine. Like it can be silly, but like it is production quality low. Both the song is trash. I can't even believe they released it the way they released Agatha Harkness's song. They're like, go listen to it on Spotify. I'm like, I'd rather shoot myself.
They thought they had something. They thought they had something.
It's a bad song, and like the costumes are like an SNL sketch. Like it's so bad.
It feels like, real quick, Ben. It feels like the point of it is supposed to be a joke, but nobody's taking it a joke. They're taking it seriously.
No, they're taking it. It's like a sincere
big
deal.
I'm confused.
I am so glad there's someone else on this panel who equally hates that musical as much as I do. I didn't want to mention it because I'm like, this doesn't really have anything to do with the story, but by God, there are times I was watching that musical, and you guys know I was a theater kid in college and in high school. But watching that just made me feel uncomfortable. Like this is ungodly levels of bad.
Ben, just to get to your level, I was in a production of Sweet Charity where all of the songs were for some reason slowed down. And it was better.
So Scott, a friend of the podcast, Scott, he said that oh, I want them to take that and adapt that into like the empty theater space in California Adventure. And I'm like, you know what? The quality level would make sense. Like that's
Scott,
how bad it
can't
is.
bring these things into existence.
But like,
So-
but
Wait, what theater space that is gone in California Adventure? Are we talking the Hyperion?
well, like because they're gonna move the Frozen show out eventually.
Yeah, true.
So he was saying like, oh, it'd be a great stand-in because it's right next to Avengers Campus and everything. I'm like, I don't want that, but like it is that quality. That's what it is.
So I want to talk. I understand. Like, here's the thing, though. Okay, I'm working through a thought here. So work with me. So okay, so this is the Hamilton, right? So it's not just the Battle of New York. We see the scene from the Battle of New York, but it's Steve Rogers' entire life as a musical.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, so they're like, okay, so what should we do? What was Hamilton? Well, Hamilton was super hip, so let's put everyone in hip outfits. And I was like, you idiots.
I mean, okay, like even if you were going to do that, and even if he was going to come in to be a parody of himself, why don't you get Lin-Manuel Miranda?
Yeah,
He's on the phone with Disney all the time. Like
It's in their pockets.
Why not have him? Why wouldn't he? Like it.
Maybe
why not just
scheduling. Maybe.
But that's the thing is like, we know they have this kind of pull, and they just like that felt like a shit out idea. I know like the writers talked about like it being a joke, and I think I'm just
it's not
I definitely-
presented like
I
that,
definitely
though.
hate it because it's just like really bad quality, but I also hate it because I'm like, I feel like you want to try to engage with like how the world views the Avengers and how they idolize them, and this is so like
Shallow.
so empty of like actual purpose outside of him watching her and it going quiet and watching
Yeah,
the Black
I
Widow
did
stand,
actually
like, getting
appreciate
emotional.
that.
That's the one part about it that I think has like really good value, but outside of that, like it provides nothing for like building that context of what the relationship of the public with the superheroes is. And if you're not going to do that moment and it is just a joke, it's a bad joke. Anyway,
Is the one shot car scene with the arrows in episode 2 or 3?
three.
Damn, 3 is the best episode.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on.
I do. There is one other moment tied to that though that I did want to touch on. We were talking episodes 1 and 2. Thanos was right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Genius graffiti shot. I thought that was amazing. Like him just sitting there and having to like sit with someone having written that is wild.
Yeah,
We have cat problems. Hold on.
I agree. I have a couple of things about episode 1 and 2 that I want to go through.
I have some notes also. I was gonna wait for wrap up, but
Go for it. Let's hear it.
So there's the bit where he sees Black Widow on the stage, and I really like that moment, how it kind of like because the thing that I like that the show was setting up, I don't have faith that any of these shows pay off their things until they do.
Yeah.
So, but like I do kind of appreciate the idea that they're setting up this idea that he is still like it's the Iron Man 3 thing. Like Iron Man 3 was about post-traumatic stress. This is kind of the same thing. Like we're using Christmas, the post-traumatic stress.
I wish it wasn't though. I'm being honest.
But we're kind of using that to be like, you know, he's still reeling. He still misses Nat. He's still reeling from Black Widow, and he is regretful immensely about what he did as Ronin. And I like those nuggets. I'm happy that they set up those nuggets. Whether or not they pay off, that's still to be seen. I'm not seeing that trajectory paying off very well at this point. But Yelena's supposed to show up, so maybe she'll do it.
The best scene so far that I think Jeremy Renner has is in episode 3 where he starts breaking down when he's talking to Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah,
but actually talking to his son.
But actually talking to his son.
yeah.
That's
a great scene.
Yeah.
And then there's the okay. So the thing about this show is I like to nitpick about things, and I know Sparks is probably the only person who's going to give a shit about what I'm about to say. But if the directors are right, and this film and this show takes place 2 years after Endgame, I got some problems. Because I don't get why the setup doesn't make sense if it's 2 years after Endgame. Why is Renner not having spent time with his family if his family's been there for at least a year? Why is Renner away from his wife if they're not fighting? Like, why is he there with his kids? And his kids are like, you're never with us anymore.
Did they say 2 years after Endgame?
The director specifically said this takes place 2 years after Endgame.
The director said it, but it's not in the text of the show.
Okay. It's not in the text of the show.
That's the only concession I have to make.
That's the only thing I can do, or else I'll go crazy.
Brandon, I don't know. Like, I can't care about what like writers and
we've been
directors
through
say
this.
about it because like they're wrong half the time. Like, or someone comes along and changes the bullshit, and they're like, "I guess that wasn't accurate."
At the end of the day, it's on the screen.
And here's why this triggered it. And because like the thing is like I've had this conversation with you guys all the time, but I'm constantly thinking about it. My OCD will not let me forget about it. So like to have this output, I appreciate you guys at least pretending to give a shit about me ranting about this. But so like having I went before the show, I was on the Wikipedia article for something. So for Spider-Man Homecoming, and it's like taking place in 2024. I'm like, that's weird. So I clicked on the 2024 link, and the wiki for that for the MCU has 2024 having all these events like Shang-Chi, and then Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then Spider-Man Homecoming, and Eternals isn't on there yet. Wasn't at the time. And I'm like,
Spider-Man Far From Home.
No, yes, Far From Home.
Mm.
And I was just sitting there going like, I hate this fucking time jump.
That's why I don't think about it.
They don't want you to think about it. That's why they keep saying present day. Yeah.
That kills me every single time.
I think 8 years later kills them because like every time I see it in Spider-Man Homecoming, I'm like, man, this is bad.
That's the worst one.
Especially because like it's not just the text or that Vulture says it like once. It's the fact that like he's looking at a drawing that Liz made and he's like, look at this, it's pretty good. And they needed, like, you can tell the motivation is, well, we want to do this thing with the kid drawing, but Liz also has to be a teenager, so it has to be like 8 years. And it's like that timeline doesn't work in the MCU though.
Just give her a little brother.
I wonder if that's a Sony accident or
it is a Sony accident, because in Infinity War they specifically in dialogue counteract that by being like 6 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, 6 years ago, Thanos. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, there's another thing that this is a nitpick about the MCU right now, is just that for some reason all the Avengers are poor. I don't get it. Why are you doing this? Someone has to. There's got to be a Stark fund somewhere. Come on, people.
Poor?
Yeah, is Hawkeye poor?
Hawkeye's not poor.
No, it's just. I was just thinking about like, Kevin Feige was like, "What are the state of the Avengers right now?" And like Hawkeye. There's things that I feel like they cut out where like Hawkeye's getting ready to go to the counter, and it's like, oh, I can't really pay for this, and like he's gonna put on the brave face, and I feel like a lot of things are happening right now in the background of the quote unquote whatever the Avengers are, and I'm getting a little sick of just being like of just kind of waiting for that to go. That's a nitpick. I don't really get into it, but that's just something that I thought
about. Because there's deliberately a scene where he's like, I'm going to pay for dinner. And then he's like, no, we'll pay for it. Don't worry. Like, I don't think Hawkeye's broke at all whatsoever.
No, but maybe not broke, but like, I remember Falcon and Winter Soldier.
I didn't catch any of that thing that you're saying.
This is all, I don't want, it's fine.
No, I get it. I don't think they're doing what you're scared they're doing. I don't think so.
I'm not scared. Okay. I'm sorry if you thought I was.
I'm not
gonna. All right.
I'm sorry, having a discussion about a show we're watching.
Sorry. No. I'm just. I am not. I'm sorry. I am not saying what I want to say, and it is making me frustrated because I get you, because that's just who I am.
Gotcha. No problem.
So let's move on to episode 3, because that's probably the episode that we all want to talk about. Unless Spark, you wanted to say something though, right?
I mean, I kind of got where you were coming from, sort of, because I think you're sort of touching on kind of the financial state of Falcon Winter Soldier, how they were kind of struggling financially, and that maybe there was a reoccurring tone going on with Hawkeye. I didn't really.
Yes, that's what I picked up on.
Or I think even just wondering, like, I kind of didn't see it either, but I also think like my frustration comes from like, what are the Avengers right now? Especially if this is the 2 years later thing that they're saying, like, what are there Avengers? Did they disband?
Are they
like,
friends?
What's going on? I guess they're on a cruise.
Do they talk?
Part of them. So like, I don't know.
Yeah. Are they homies?
Well,
yes. All of that is what I was trying to get at. So
I get you.
They're like, since this is 2 years after Endgame, and Falcon and Winter Soldier was how long after Endgame? Like 6 months.
Yeah.
I want to move back to like the other parts of the show, but I want to put a bow on this because I think it actually ties into a lot of things we brought up as we talked about the MCU pretty much this whole year, which is that every single one of these projects feels like, in a way that nothing before it did, we're playing in some weird space where we don't understand the context of the surrounding world. Mm-hmm. And it's always like we're getting little teases of an idea of what's going on in the world, which we just never needed before, and it's all because of the blip.
It's like
every show has these little pieces that it's trying to like fill in. Like this is like elements of what's going on around the world, and like I don't understand what the world is right now.
It feels like this phase,
especially because they came out of order.
Yeah, it feels like the world is like in a miasma, and we just can't talk about it because then we'd have to address everything we set up, and they just won't, and like they just will never do it.
And that kind of thing just wasn't permeating the background of all previous MCU entries before this point, and now it's like all of them have something that has to like kind of recontextualize what your concept of where these people are at, what's going on in the world that we just never needed before. And it's just weird because we don't have a full picture.
And they set themselves up to do it, but then they don't capitalize on it.
Or if they will, it's going to take so long before we finally see something do it. I can't even think of what it would be.
Again, bringing up the Fraction Hawkeye series, that show is about the mafia taking over tenements in New York, and Hawkeye is helping save their apartment complexes. This could be the entire thing about the blip and taking people out of their homes and them coming back and stuff. Sure. They could have incorporated that so easy. That's what I thought the show was going to be. And it's nothing.
It's not.
Yeah, no, that is the exactly where my frustrations, what I was trying to vocalize, were coming from. Is what sparks for us, Brian. Well, you guys were talking about that is exactly where that was coming from.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
Well, like you were saying earlier, like one of the things you loved the most about like the first episode was that writing on the urinal. Thanos was right. You felt like maybe that thing was going to come up again in the episode, and doesn't really come up again anywhere.
Yeah.
And especially since like the show is really about him sort of on the outside, seeing like how people react to him, wanting selfies, seeing him on the street, paying for his meals. We haven't really seen like, I'm kind of would be more curious to see some people who thought maybe the Avengers did more harm than good. Like, why did you have to bring us back?
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I just feel like
why'd you have to bring these people back? Like,
exactly.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a really, actually, that's awesome. I don't know if Hawkeye's the show to do it.
No, it's probably not.
It's like a Christmas happy show. But it's a good idea.
Like this specifically goes back to like our Falcon and Winter Soldier discussion, but I think it literally has been touched on in everything we talked about in the MCU this year, except for Loki and What If, and that's it. But literally everything else has had to touch this concept, and it's just frustrating because it's exactly what Forrest is saying. Like, they don't want to give us a full contextual picture of like what's going on
because they don't know.
And we know a lot of the films that are coming up, and I don't think we're going to get it anytime soon.
It's why we kept talking about in Falcon Winter Soldier. We kept bringing up the idea that there should be an in-universe documentary.
Yeah.
So true. Anyway, the third episode of Hawkeye,
banger from start to finish, baby.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, I love how when shows give us like a little bit of an intro to the villain, like when we see Echo and how she was brought up, like when she's at school, she could kind of read lips, but that she shows to her teacher that, oh, I'm paying attention. She's very intelligent and very smart. She can pick up on things. And I just love when she's talking to her dad, and it kind of broke my heart because it saw the tracks. I'm like, oh no, he's a bad guy. He's part of the mafia. And then he dies. I feel bad for him because he was a doting father. And she's also a kick-ass villain too. So not only is she deaf, she's also missing a leg, and
which is an actor. That's the actress. She doesn't have she's missing a leg, and that was because it's not from the comics.
Oh, never mind. Either way, she still kicks ass.
Mm-hmm.
And
how cool! Awesome. How cool that they embrace that.
Yeah. I thought that was really neat.
I always love it when you see. I don't know why, but it kind of like puts a smile on my face when I guess like when an able, I know they're all actors, but when an able-bodied person sees, like when that boxer, when they were fighting, he sees that she's missing the leg, and he's like, okay, yeah, I could probably, or the kid, when she's like, oh wow, this girl's missing a leg, I could probably take her, and he gets his ass handed to him.
Mm-hmm. It's underestimating. Absolutely.
It's always nice.
I think the origin mini episode is like, I think it's exceptional. I think it feels tonally unlike the show we've been previously watching. It definitely has that Daredevil like feel to it immediately, right? I love Echo as a character is really cool. It's just like I just love badass ladies. Who doesn't love a badass lady, right? She starts as a villain, becomes a hero, as a lot of them do. I'm so interested in this arc because she's very much she's a villain right now. It's very cool. Obviously, like the stuff with Uncle, we'll get to. But herself in the Tracksuit Mafia, she is like the middleman for the big bad of the show. The one thing I will bring up, and pretty much every single MCU show has done this so far, is teasing a big bad that's set up for the finale. Every single show has done it. the thing is, the last one that did it exceptionally well. So I'm not worried about it.
There is the Wizard of Oz syndrome that these shows have suffered from, which has been very strange to watch and very unusual in a way. We talked about it a lot with like Loki. Like I got it with Loki because Loki kind of had like a central villain from the beginning that they were trying to there was a central antagonist that they kept dealing with. Yeah. And I'm so far enjoying it in Hawkeye in kind of the similar way of Loki. The only time that I ever had an issue with it was Falcon Winter Soldier and WandaVision, even though I think WandaVision might be at least the second strongest of the show. I really like Loki. But like I think WandaVision really the Agatha stuff and the quote unquote Mephisto stuff, like this, it didn't do it well, and I think maybe they're kind of learning their lesson as they go along. And I think Loki was kind of the okay, we do it well. And I think here is probably hopefully a similar situation as we got with Loki.
I do too. It's just funny that like the fourth show this in a row has a mystery villain character, and I'm like, I'm into it, but like, come on, guys, did y'all write this at the exact same time?
As long as it's not bad as Falcon Winter Soldier, and all of a sudden like Kate Bishop is like the whatever the hell. What was it? Sharon was the
power broker.
The power broker.
I don't expect too much weight on Uncle Fisk.
Yeah.
I don't expect too much weight on it because I don't think he's for this season. I think he's for the future.
He's for Echo.
And so because of that, he's almost a post credits appearance.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised honestly if his full appearance is the post credits in the last episode or something. Mm-hmm. Like he is not a villain to be revealed of this show. Right. Yeah. I think that's Jack. And I think that the reason that the origin minisode is shot the way it is, I think it's purposefully to obscure Ronan in a way he hasn't been obscured to the audience before, because it's actually going to be revealed it's Jack.
Also, actually, if you've read the comics, another villain has been introduced, but he's not the villain yet.
Which one?
Kazi is in the fresh run as Clown.
Oh yeah.
He's the guy who has the face paint.
Yeah. Okay, he's pretty cool.
I don't know if they're gonna do that with him. That might be more setup, but I think there are plenty of villains. Kingpin does not need to be touched whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah.
But is there? So you think that Jack is the central, the end game villain for the show?
I think so. Yeah. I think that's what they're doing, and I do think that there's a possibility that he was the Ronin that killed Echo's people. Just that situation.
Interesting.
Well, the only reason I suspect that is because I'm like, her paternal figure did not seem like the kind of person Hawkeye would murder.
Yeah.
Even in his like rampage state.
Yes.
Like they didn't seem like the high enough level dangerous criminals necessarily. Maybe I'm wrong. And it's not just that, it's that and the combination of the way it's filmed. Like we as an audience know would be in theory be Hawkeye, but they go very far out of their way to make sure we don't see a face.
I think it's just because they want us to know it's definitely not Jeremy Renner. It's not him doing stuff.
Well, I mean, to rebuttal a little bit, because I kind of like the theory, and I wouldn't be too upset if that were the case. But like, it could be because we're seeing it from Echo's point of view, and Echo doesn't see Ronan's face. The audience wouldn't. That's a possibility. I would be really into the idea that it ends up being Jack. That had done that. I think that's a really cool idea.
I think it's one of those situations where we talk about how cool the idea would be, and then they don't do that.
Right. Yeah. It very well could be, but I think like there's a good possibility that he made a copy Ronin costume when Ronin was around to take out people that he needed.
It might be why he wanted to get the outfit and the sword so badly at the auction.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that would be a clear and clean through line, and while it doesn't absolve Hawkeye of the many murders,
he murdered dozens of people.
It does absolve him of the one that makes your heart feel bad.
Yes, the one
with Echo,
with the character with a name.
Correct.
I want to real quickly about the first episode. There's an actor, Jack's dad,
Armand.
I wanted to shout out. I really like that actor. He's like the most famous Charles Dickens actor in the world. I'm a huge Charles Dickens fan, so like seeing him, I was like, "Hey, Chuck."
Yeah.
He was on He was on a couple episodes of Doctor Who. So
yeah, he's a classic character actor. Yeah.
Anyway, that's just a fun little nerd thing.
So Echo kidnaps Hawkeye and Kate Bishop. All of her scenes, she uses sign language. That's great. She has an interpreter, Kazi. Who doesn't seem like a very good guy either. Yeah, we learn about Uncle. There's some big nefarious white gentleman who's looking after her for 20 years. For the comics, not that it really matters, but in the comics, Kingpin raised Echo from birth to be his personal assassin. That might be what they're doing here. It seems like it.
That chuckle sounded familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was definitely a moment where I was like, in the first 2 episodes, I was kind of like, I mean, I'd be cool, but I'm not gonna hold my breath on the Kingpin appearance. And then that happened. I was like, oh damn, that's Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah,
I'm praying that Uncle turns out to be Kingpin. I'm just hoping.
I joked to Ryan and said that watch it be Tombstone.
The biggest fake out. God.
The thing that would be really upsetting. The thing is, like, I think they really learned their lesson from Ralph Boner. Like, yeah. I think at the time I was pretty like whatever about it. But as I get away from that show more, that really like bugs me. That kind of feels like we talked about it before. Like it felt mean spirited. Yes. And so like I think they've learned the lesson from like, okay, maybe we don't like. It's not going to be Vincent D'Onofrio playing a different character. It's going to be Vincent. If it's Vincent D'Onofrio, he's the Kingpin.
And it's the thing where, like, everybody loves those actors in those roles. Like, everybody wants them back. They want to come back. And it makes sense. Like, it makes sense to, like, this is the perfect time to do it.
Could you imagine right now, like, all the fervor that's happened about the Daredevil connections to Spider-Man and him appearing in this, and, like, it is all over the internet, and people who never cared about it before care about it now. Yeah. And, like, could you imagine if they did cast a different actor as Kingpin and they were cutting out the Netflix shit in this show, and then they're going,
oh, it's just some other big white dude. Yeah.
They're like, oh,
no. Quickly, refilm it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get Vincent D'Onofrio in front of a green screen.
There is, I think, the best action scene we've got so far, which was a clip that they did release that I didn't watch. But like the one shot of him in the car with all the arrows.
I love that scene.
The Pym arrow to make the big one, very unexpected, very cool, very cinematic. Like, oh shit.
That's the thing. Like, that's what I wanted to get. That's what I really wanted to get to this episode, like in general. Because I think the action sequences when they're like using weapons, I think is really cool. Like the arrow stuff is really well choreographed, really well done. Renner kind of feels more comfortable, I think, with the bow and arrow when he's doing the stunts. And Haley Steinfeld also, like she clearly trained for this, and she's clearly really likes it. So seeing her kind of do that stuff, the car chase is really well done. And I love all the trick arrows, but the Pym arrow, I was like, Hank gave you that?
I know Hank did not give him that. Scott was like, "Hey, thanks for helping me in Civil War, bud."
Yeah.
Or Scott was probably like, "Yo, I got something for you. I think you're gonna like this." And then he gives him the arrows, like, "Oh, I can definitely do something." Like this.
Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania starts. Scott, did you give Hawkeye Pym Tech? And it's just a giant arrow.
Yeah, Scott, one of my Pym particle things is missing. Have you seen it?
No,
don't watch the news, but
just on the news, just a giant arrow falls to the sky.
Like when it gets big, it says Pym and big. And Higgins like,
all of a sudden, Scott gets a call. It's like, you gave Clint Barton one of my technologies. Like, what are you talking about? Turn on the news, and then it's like a shot from whatever bridge it is in New York. Is like.
He wouldn't call. I think you're too kind. He wouldn't call him Clint Barton. He'd say like you gave that wombat.
Yeah. Hank Pym is the put upon dad of the MCU.
Yeah. Probably.
Anyway, I can't wait for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, guys.
You know what? Now I really hope that a scene like that is in there. It's probably not.
Probably won't be.
It probably won't. But a man can dream.
I never thought Michael Douglas would show up in an animated form of the MCU. So all bets are off as far as I'm concerned, baby.
Yeah. How did this episode end? I don't remember.
The episode ended with them in the penthouse, and Jack Duquesne is there with the Ronin sword at his.
Yeah. That's right. Okay. Yeah. I love a good retractable sword.
Real quick, that Hank Pym moment will be a post-credit scene to the whatever's going on the cruise.
Oh God!
Hell yeah!
What cruise?
Gotta get on the Disney cruise, baby. Next to
the Disney cruise,
Galactic Star Cruiser.
Yeah, where you can do that.
No, I really sorry, Ben. Do you have actually something? Because I was gonna vamp.
No, I was gonna say, I know we talked about Haley Steinfeld, but to me, she shines in this episode.
Mhm.
Like, I love the scene where she's talking to the thug about the Imagine Dragon concert.
Oh, I love it.
It's pretty good.
Like, well, look at that. We'll think of it this way. This way, you don't have to see Imagine Dragons. But I love Imagine
I
Dragons.
love Imagine
Oh,
Dragons.
well, you both have apologies to make. Maybe her apologizing to you for taking someone else, and you apologize to her for buying tickets for yourself.
I don't like Imagine Dragons, so I thought that joke was funny.
Yeah, I thought that's good. I think she has really good writing, really good humor in this.
Mhm.
Good chops.
I have loved her since the scene when Gary comes down, and she's like, Gary told me, I'm Gary. Oh, you see, that's the problem, Gary. You don't even know my name. This is gonna work. I quit. And he's like, what? You can't quit. And I love how fast she thinks on her feet. She's so sharp with her tongue. And I like that the only person who she really fumbles up around is Clint. And I think that all
She's a
really
fan.
works.
Yeah.
I think it's really
We
good.
didn't even talk about the opening of episode 1, which I do really like. The 2012 flashback where she sees Hawkeye doing his thing.
Yeah.
I was going to bring it up. It's in my notes.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. I love the flashback. I love the context of it. I love that the moment we see with Hawkeye is a moment where if you watch Avengers, you can go like, that moment. And they didn't like manufacture a new one to be like, this was also happening.
That's like doubly cool.
Yeah.
It's like extra
Yeah.
hard.
No, they did a shot from Avengers. So it's like very much like grabbing at that audience, especially an audience even younger than us that saw Avengers. And it's like, this is you.
It does make sense because like there's a joke online of like if she saw the Hulk, like, mommy, I want steroids and like purple pants. Like that's not realistic. If you see a human being doing that, like that isn't inspirational. That will make you like, I want to be like that guy. I could do that. So like I was very before the show started, like, why would Kate Bishop be a fan of Jeremy Renner Hawkeye? Like I get it because she literally saw him save the world.
Yes.
Like I get that.
Yeah.
I want to actually give a brief little shout out to whoever does the opening credits for episode 1, which turned out to be a montage of Kate Bishop's training, of how like you get to the funeral scene with her and her dad, or her at her dad's funeral, and she's talking to her mom, and she tells her mom she wants a bow and arrow, and then you get this long opening credit training montage of her getting better and better, and like I love how she's like on the 3rd place podium, then she's on 2nd place, and she gets 1st. You see more and more medals, and it's like she's training, she's working her way to become one of the greatest archers in the world. And I love when they're in the subway after they escape that awesome car chase scene, and Hawkeye with that Clint without a hearing aid, he goes, "You're not wrong. You are the greatest, you might be one of the greatest archers in the world." And I'm like, yeah.
No, he says because he's beleaguered. He's like, you're right. You are one of the greatest archers in the world. And I think that moment is like really sweet.
Mm-hmm.
I love that, and I do like the way they're using his hearing aid, especially in the 3rd episode with so much of like they've used it for both comedic and the dramatic purpose of when he's trying to talk to his son. I thought all of that worked really, really well.
The moment between him and Echo is my favorite so far. It's like she's like, oh, you let like machines help you. You just don't let you just be your natural self or whatever. She's trying to sign to him, and he's like, he doesn't understand. It's like, oh, you're a weak person.
More cookie.
Yeah,
please.
yeah. I love that. I thought that was excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
There's still more.
Yeah, she sees that he's hard of hearing, so she like breaks the binds to be like, okay, we're gonna talk, and he's like, oh wait, no, I'm not deaf, I'm just hard of hearing.
Yeah, more cookie. Yeah. I honestly like I found Echo to be such like a presence in like the show that was good. Like if the show were continuing and it was just these 2 characters, I'm sure I'd like it fine. But like her introduction into the show, her bringing that Marvel Knights energy was like exactly what I needed to like, okay, now I'm really excited to watch the next episode of the show. Where otherwise I'd have been like, I'm doing it for the show. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like now I'm invested in Echo as a character.
Sure.
And the fact that she has her own show coming, I'm like, they knew what they had the second they casted this actor.
Yes.
Like, and I'm like, she has such a presence that she does her own stunts and she's so badass. And it's like, I'm so excited.
Her introduction at the end of episode 2 is solid.
Yeah.
Really liked it.
And like the Daredevil red, like so into it. So into it.
I really liked the handprint illusion when it's her dad's handprint, because it's Ben, if you don't know. She has a handprint on her face, tattoo.
Oh, I didn't see that.
White handprint.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know it. Oh, I gotta rewatch that episode then. Or at least I gotta pay attention when episode 4 comes out.
No, Ben. The comic book, Echo.
Oh.
No, you weren't missing a white tattoo on her face.
In the comics, Echo has a white hand tattoo on her face. So in the show,
I was way more drunk when I watched that episode than I thought.
So it's like, what was in the water? Did my water suddenly turn into vodka when I was watching the episode a few minutes ago? Damn.
So
how bad of a night at work was that? Like,
so in the show, they allude to it by having the bloody handprint of her dad.
I love it.
I think that's really cool.
I'm just so excited. Because like there's still more Hawkeye stuff from both of those comics that I think are going to be in the show that I'm really excited about. You know, more characters, more like action beats. And now
we're getting Yelena Belova in the show.
And they've already released the image of her in her like Splinter Cell outfit, and I'm like, oh, they kind of know what they're doing. Hell yeah. I have a feeling she's going to be like a bottle episode. Like she'll show up for one episode. I don't think she'll be like weaved in the rest of the season. That's just what I feel like because there's already a lot going on.
Yeah, I also feel the same way. Like, I don't see if she was going to be important to the show, you'd include her in episode 1. If she's
2, but at this point, episode 4, like I think it's too late to introduce a brand new full character.
Yeah, I think we're going to intersect. I hope it's well done because, like, if it's not, then I'm just going to wonder what's the point. You just need to fill an hour.
It honestly feels like you know, like you have an arc of a comic like issues 1 through 5, and then issue 6 is the standalone one issue where he fights the Hulk, and then the next arc happens. I think this episode is just going to be Yelena fights him, and then she's like, "No, we're cool, bro," and then leaves.
Yeah,
I really think that's what's going to be. It's going to happen.
We'll see.
Yeah.
These shows have this show less so than I think some others, but these shows are structured weirdly, and I hope that going forward they stop being structured this way in the sense of like just cut up 6-hour-long movies. We've talked about it before. We've talked about it in length. So I don't want to spend too much time on this.
We're a ways away still from seeing that criticism. Like,
you would think
affect change.
You would think like this is like what, like the 4th show, the 5th show, whatever. Like at this point, like no
fourth live action.
Yeah. So like at this point, like no, they're still working.
And WandaVision in some ways doesn't count.
Mm-hmm. Right, because WandaVision structures each episode as a TV show and worked really well, at least for the first.
A different length sitcom and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think that this show. So it's really interesting watching Star Trek Discovery and watching this show at the same time. In the sense that like Star Trek Discovery is still like a streaming show. They're both streaming shows, but the Star Trek Discovery every episode has an A, B, and C plot, but the B plot is maybe overarching the narrative, or the A plot some weeks, but they end a story at the end of their 45 to 50 minutes. But the MCU shows don't. They just kind of like, we've got a story going along, and then we'll cut it there, and we'll see you next week, and we'll continue the story.
Because again, they're not made like TV shows. A TV show, an episode has a story, but then the season is also a story.
Yeah.
The MCU, it's a 6-hour movie.
Yeah.
Whereas like the first arc is the first couple episodes of the first what's it called? First act is the first couple episodes. And sometimes it's a really good first act. Sometimes it's like this Hawkeye one where like it takes a little bit of steam to get you going.
And especially when they revealed that it was going to be a movie at one time.
In a similar vein to what you were suggesting earlier, Brandon, about how like we know that the same teams from the films work on these TV shows. A problem I think is coming into play a lot more with the films, at least more present in the final product at this point, especially with them putting out as many as they do at a time, is that production and development are blending so much to the point where people like are getting parts of the script later or having entire points of the film rewritten around them without them knowing the full context of what they're doing. And the final product is getting a little bit more lackluster because of it, honestly, because you're not giving them the full materials or the full dedication of thought ahead of time to plan and execute it at the maximum quality that it should be. And I wonder if the shows are just going to keep suffering from the same thing as well.
Potentially.
Yeah.
I'm glad you voiced that because I'm struggling with the MCU this year.
No, me too. No, definitely. Like I've enjoyed everything, but there comes a point where like, okay, just isn't enough anymore. We're 25 movies in, 4 or 5 episodes, like TV shows in. Like,
I think
you gotta just try harder sometimes, right?
And I think we're sitting at the point where like quantity is overtaking quality.
Yes,
instead of the other way around.
Yeah,
and that's what it seems to be. And I think the problem is that like these things need to take longer to gestate before they get them out into the theater. And like, I understand them wanting to have a certain amount of releases a year. And like, I think they could still aim for that if they'd had like the pandemic, a break to like prep ahead and then have a time where like there's a gap, but then have these projects like produced over a longer period of time. So more thought goes into them, more more construction, more critical thinking about how they're presenting these characters. But at the same time, they don't really have to do that because that's just more money, and the MCU is practically printing it as it is. So,
and that's the thing, yeah. Like they're we talked about it briefly, Sparks and I, but like they are on a train track, right? They are putting the tracks immediately before the train, and they've been doing that for so many years. They cannot stop. They can't stop a movie's production for 6 months to a year because that would ruin everything. They are on a structure. Nothing stops the structure. That no matter if you have to do 6 weeks of reshoots, 6 days a week, baby. Doctor Strange comes out May, no matter what. That's the kind of shit that like it's starting to affect everything. Like,
to be fair, they did push Doctor Strange.
No, they did, but like not by that many months.
Right. It is coming to a point where, for me, I'm sitting in a strange emotional place with the MCU. I'm sitting in a strange critical space with the MCU. It's just there are highs, but there are far more lows than there used to be, and I'm wondering if it's just a me problem, or if like Sparks and Ryan have talked about, like if that is what I'm here for. But like I don't know. Hopefully Spider-Man's good.
I know exactly what it is for me, Brandon. Like, like we all love the MCU, but like once we are 10 years into this, you can't just keep giving us like 7s. Like, we know what you're capable of, but they don't do that because they'll make $1 billion no matter what. You know what I mean? So like, once you have like a standard, you don't need to go above it.
Yeah, I think there is something to that. I just going back to the beginning of our conversation.
Eternals is the biggest risk Marvel has ever made, and despite us not liking it, that is the most different Marvel movie. That's the most different Marvel has been in years, right? Mm-hmm. If they took bigger risks, that movie still made a lot of money, right? Like, they just need to take bigger risks. They don't need to be so into the structure that they have made. Because, like, I thought we were past this after Phase 2. I thought we were past this.
I think that's one of the reasons why I was so positive about Eternals too.
Yeah.
Like, there's still a lot of others, but like one of the reasons I think I was so positive is because I was just, what a breath of fresh air I felt in seeing it. I was like, I feel like a lot more care went into crafting this film than some of the others that we've seen lately, especially from the shows.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel the attempt to like push.
I would rather take another swing and a miss than I would just to get another 7 out of 10. Because I always talk about, like, I want something. I am glad I don't like Eternals, because that's a visceral, actual emotional reaction. It's fine. Because that's so boring. Saying something is fine is so boring. Like, I want to talk about something, why I love it or why I don't like it. At least Eternals had something to talk about. Whereas, like, all these Marvel, like, this year of Marvel movies have been Black Widow and Shang-Chi. Like, they're good, bad endings, in my opinion.
I think for me, and we can only talk about our personal experiences in this way, but like, I think for me, the shows are really bringing me down more than anything. Yeah. The shows have just not been hitting me the way I wanted them to, and they're coming out at such a frequency that it's just a lot. Whereas I think if it was just the movies, I really like Shang-Chi. I really like Black Widow. Didn't care for Eternals, but I appreciated the risk. And I'm excited for Spider-Man, and I'm excited for Ant-Man 3. Like, Thor 4. Like, there are movies that I'm looking forward to that I'm really interested in, but when I saw the slate of new TV shows coming up, I was like, I don't really care.
I care more. I'm going to be more sad if, like, I don't care if Hawkeye is good or bad. I care if She-Hulk and Moon Knight are good or bad. Well, those are the ones where, like, if those are 7s, I'm going to be mad. Because...
I think they have a better chance because by nature they are going to be more interesting because they're introducing new characters.
Yeah.
So they're going to be able to hit better, harder, easier than these other ones, where what we're saying is we know the standard normal of these characters we want them to push. And the thing is, like, they try, but they don't go all the way.
Yeah.
And it's both a problem of, like, maybe they're not ambitious enough, maybe the studio doesn't give them enough resources, or frankly, just because that production development overlap is so muddied at this point that, like, what you would normally have happen is, like, one more week or so, and they'd look at something and go, oh, right here, fix this.
Yeah.
And like, it would take it up from like that B range up into an A.
The ball's always rolling.
And that's rolling. I think what it is, but I do think that also comes from the complacency of, like, these characters being mostly familiar. And then it will be easier and hopefully even stronger for them to hit with Moon Knight, with She-Hulk, with Miss Marvel, because they're brand new.
Yeah, I'm with Brandon. If Loki, Loki, I think is excellent. If Loki wasn't so good, I think I would be in a much closer spot to you. But I know that what they are capable of, and it's just like, you just did it, and it was awesome. and I see you're not doing it here, and it just really bums me out because I know. Like there was that range of like Marvel movies like Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, like Infinity War, like Spider-Man, all of them are really good. That was a good period. And I'm like, oh, can we go back to that where it felt like they had like liberties to do things? Oh.
I think that another part of it is that like we haven't hit full blown changing of the guard, and I don't mean like specifically in directors, but like, you know, people who are running the show aren't necessarily the people running the show on every single thing. So you're seeing a lot of like these projects, I think, where we've had a lot of Marvel Studios mainstays overseeing things, and then we have some new projects where we're getting new blood. And I think where the new blood is coming in is where you're getting things that are like, no, we can actually do it different. And we can try something to be actually truly different here. And I think those two things are making a tapestry, because there are so many projects of like, here are the things that you can spot that are like, this is MCU, all right. And then here are the things where like, oh, holy shit. I mean, this is different. And that's like Loki and Eternals. And like they are, for good and bad, like they are. And I think that's going to continue to happen as you have like Sam Raimi come in on Multiverse of Madness.
Hell yeah.
Ryan Coogler still back on Wakanda Forever, which is, I'm not saying that that's going to be
the Marvel
standard project, but like, you know, there's going to be a whole lot of like, in a realm of similarity and something fresh. And I think that's kind of the net we're casting right now.
I think with as long as the MCU has been going, we're just unfortunately at spot Brandon where we're at the peak of the valley. Well, no, the bottom of the valley, right? Like it's rough right now. It definitely feels rough. Like
all it takes. Here's the thing. I talked to Mike about this on the last issue. This is the second time on Fictor's Watch I've talked about this, because I talked about this with Mike on Downright Nerdy. And I was like, I wonder if it's just that like I'm never going to feel the same way I did going into Endgame, and like am I trying to like reconcile those feelings? Because it's in the same valley as how I was feeling about Fast and Furious. Like, am I ever going to feel the same way I did about this thing? And so like, I'm wondering like, but at the end of the day, like a Spider-Man No Way Home is freaking amazing.
It takes one good thing to bring
it takes one good thing. Yeah.
That again, Echo. If Echo wasn't in the show, I would be so much downer on it. But like now that new element is in here, like, I am invested in the show now. So it just takes one thing for everybody.
That's all Tom Holland is saying.
Yeah.
It's just going to take one thing. What do you think about what we've said, Forrest?
I agree with the majority of it. I mean, to be honest, a lot in the same thing that Brandon was touching on earlier. The shows have really been breaking me down. I haven't seen Black Widow. I haven't seen Eternals, although I've heard, you know, really good stuff, good and bad, about Eternals. I'm really more excited that they're trying different things.
Yeah.
I think going forward, that's going to be really interesting. Really excited about Sam Raimi.
Yes,
but I think the main problem for me, as someone who's not as a frequent Marvel goer as you guys are, it really is sort of how they've been structuring the TV shows. I don't feel like they really know what the right sweet spot is yet, because the way they're structured, we're 3 episodes into Hawkeye. We're talking really mostly positively about the third one.
Yeah,
there's 6 episodes, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes sense that this third one out of the 6 has reached an arc that sort of pivoted, and now they have these 3 episodes left. So are we going to be in the same place where we were in episode 1 with episodes 4, and then they just build up to 6?
That's a good point.
You know, I don't really think that is a good way to go for a TV show. If they really wanted to give like Hawkeye a proper story, just give them a movie. You know, maybe make it like a exclusive streaming film or whatever, if you want to keep it on a smaller scale. But I think really it just comes into runtime. I mean, you look at other shows that Disney has done, like in the Star Wars series. I think one of the best ones I think they've structured in terms of time is probably The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian has different episodes, like, you know, that are different time lengths in each one, but they know exactly which each one of those episodes are, how long they should be.
Yeah.
With these, I feel like they just want to make this big giant story, and they're cutting them off at certain points.
They want to make a movie plus.
They have it, exactly. Like it has to be 6 hours no matter what.
Yeah.
Like no ifs, ands, or buts. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
But why?
And I think it's hurting those stories a lot more than they're helping them.
Yeah.
And I really hope it doesn't happen. Especially
not every story needs to be this long.
You bring up a good point in like comparison to HBO Max, where they're like, we'll put a Batgirl movie on HBO Max, like just for streaming.
True.
Why are we beholden to only shows from Marvel Studios on Disney Plus? That is an interesting point. Like it's true. Like if you're not going to tell enough story to warrant a TV show, don't do a TV show.
Exactly,
I think this is growing pains. Like we talked about it, like Brandon, like when these TV shows were first happening, like, you know, the growing pains of like doing your first initial wave. I wonder if like the first 2 years are like, shit, man, maybe we should just make movies instead. Because like diminishing returns. Like, it's not like these shows are getting like shit on, but they're not getting rave reviews, right? And after a while, you think they'd want to get those rave reviews.
It's just the big moments.
It's just the big moments.
It's just
Yeah,
that big shit.
And
Everybody's watching it, so they'll be like, that big shit, yeah, that big shit, and then they'll move on.
I get the appeal. I get the appeal of these shows for like Marvel Studios, even for Disney, because like you now look at Disney Plus Day. How many shows did they announce versus how many movies are in Phase 4? Like the difference is astronomical. The stuff coming to Disney Plus is so much bigger than the stuff going to cinemas. And like Phase 4 is huge only because there's like 40 Marvel TV shows and 4 movies. Well, not really, but I'm exaggerating both ways. But like that gives them the opportunity because there's less time. You need less time to make a show, and you can just keep putting out as much as you want.
I think like it's all in there, which is just that like this is why I'm looking forward to like Moon Knight and She-Hulk and Miss Marvel. I think it makes good sense for these characters to be introduced in a show. I think WandaVision and Loki also both made good sense for a TV show. I think Falcon and Winter Soldier, for the story they told, could have just been a movie. And I think Hawkeye also could have just been a movie. So far. And they could be nice, just as high quality Disney Plus movies. Like, I don't know. I don't know that we need to stay committed to TV shows because those two in particular, they didn't tell a story that warranted it. WandaVision did because of the nature of it, and Loki truly did use its time to actually try and do something, but not Hawkeye, not Falcon Winter Soldier, not Hawkeye yet. Who knows? Yeah. We'll see.
I think we've covered a lot of issues behind the scenes of the MCU and universe, and behind the scenes of the MCU out of universe. So
a good
real quick, Sleepy Ben, how do you feel? Any thoughts about the MCU and everything we just said while you sat there
and sat there listening?
Hi, Ben.
Hi. I would have to say, right now the thing that's keeping me in the Marvel seat is just looking forward to Spider-Man Far From Home. That is the one thing that's keeping me in the. I mean, Shang-Chi was a much needed shot of adrenaline because I didn't like Black Widow all that much. I didn't like Eternals all that much. I don't hate those movies by any means, but it just wasn't what I was looking for. Like Shang-Chi, brand new character, brand new mythologies were introduced. Hell yeah. Spider-Man, we're getting the multiverse, we're getting all that crazy shit. I love that. Give me that. So looking at what's going on with Hawkeye, I am enjoying Hawkeye. The third episode was definitely, once again, a shot of adrenaline to keep me awake and interested. And I'm more looking forward to Kate Bishop taking the reins as Hawkeye and letting Jeremy Renner go off into the sunset.
Yeah, I agree.
So did you hear what I know you guys probably did, but did you hear what I think Feige called him and Renner? I don't remember who said it, but they called them the grandfathers of the MCU. And I was like, that fits for Renner, honestly.
It does. It definitely fits for Renner. It definitely, holy shit. But I do see, like, as of right now, I kind of wish Hawkeye was its own film because I do agree with you guys. WandaVision and Loki had to be television shows. They had to, I agree. Whereas Falcon and Winter Soldier, I would like the movie. But we got a show instead. I mean, I'm still glad with how it ended. Yeah. I'm still glad of what we got. Wilson, Anthony Mackie in the Captain America suit. But at the same time, I agree. They should have been films. They could have been a lot shorter than what we got. But I feel it's a little too early to call Hawkeye like this should have been a movie. Even though I probably just said 5 seconds ago it should be a movie. But I think the jury's still out on that. But as of right now, it should be a movie. But once again, something might happen later on in episodes 4, 5, and 6 that could completely change my mind. I'm like, I will retract that statement. But once again, we don't know. We haven't seen the episodes yet.
This is halfway of the season, so it'd be halfway through the movie. There's not a lot there. You can cut 2 of those hours, and I think we'd be fine.
Yeah, and it comes down to what Ryan said in the beginning. We're 3 episodes in. We haven't learned anything new about Hawkeye.
Yeah. And like, the coolest thing they're doing, like with him handling him being deaf, I think that's really great. Like I am glad that they're incorporating that stuff instead of just ignoring it like they have for so long. It's really cool. Doesn't save the show or anything.
They got some time left, though. I mean,
they do.
3 episodes left. If they keep up the momentum that they build up from 3,
yeah,
it could be a pretty solid series.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's 3 hours worth of story that is still to come. Like, yeah.
We'll find
Okay,
out
Endgame.
on the next.
I
Parents
got some quick notes I'm gonna run through. Just mention them. Let's see here. At the end of the first episode, there's like 8 of them that get out of vans, but only 3 of them end up fighting her or Hawkeye. The rest of them just disappear, and I thought that was really lame.
Where'd they go, bro?
Yeah, there was like a whole crowd of them. That was the whole point. And then she just gets in a vehicle, and only 3 pursue, and the rest, I guess, went to get a pizza.
They're busy.
We didn't talk about her at all, but I do think like she's not doing anything necessarily special or spectacular. But I do think Vera Farmiga is very well cast.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Your character is pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, I like her as Kate's mom, and I think that they have a good chemistry relationship on screen. Not that
I
they're
agree, yeah.
always doing a ton with it, but I do think it works.
Quick side note on that: it took me a while to realize that was Miss Warren for Vera Farmiga because she's not blonde in this show. And I'm watching this, and Fanny was like, "Hey, that's the Warren lady from The Conjuring." I'm like, "Who?" She almost gave me the death stare. I'm like, "Oh, you're right. I know who it is now."
And then Ben had none flashbacks, and he's like, no.
No, all of a sudden, Annabelle's on my cat tree next to my TV. I'm like, how'd you get there?
Yeah, I just wanted to give her kind of a shout out because
I have a feeling
I really like her.
I have a feeling she's going to be more heavily involved in the next couple episodes.
I do too, and I think that she's also going to be a character going forward when we see Kate still. I don't think like the end of her time is on this show. I think she's cast for the long term.
Yeah,
God, I hope not.
I like her dynamic.
When I say I hope not, I mean that I hope that she is cast long term, and this is not going to be the end of it because I do like her as her mom, and I think that's a good relationship they have. I like their quirks. Like she's like, "Oh, so glad you're home for Christmas." BT Dubs, I cancel your credit cards because you destroyed a freaking clock tower.
Jacques the swordsman, he is very schmaltzy, very cheesy, but I do like him.
Yes,
I do think he's good at what he does.
He chooses the moments very well.
Yes,
I love his. I probably talked crap about his mustache earlier, but that's a good vaudevillian evil mustache. That's a good melodrama mustache. I played a melodrama villain in high school, and I just wait for him to twirl it.
He's got a great smile, like a great shit-eating grin smile. Yeah.
He does.
I think Jeremy Renner and Haley Steinfeld also have great chemistry. I think they do play off of each other better. I'm always more engaged when he's on screen with either her or his kids.
Yes.
Boy, that little boy who should be like 3 or 4 is pretty old, isn't he? Anyway,
2 years after Endgame.
But I think Jeremy Renner's straight man performance does work pretty well with Kate Bishop playing off him. I think he has a good rapport with her.
I agree.
Brandon's doing the calculations.
The math meme is happening.
Trying to remember what year Age of Ultron takes place in.
2015.
15? Okay, so let's see. So he'd be hold on.
4 at best.
Keep going. I'm gonna do this.
So I also just want to shout. I do think the LARP scene is pretty good. I appreciate,
even though the rules are broken, they just established them. They break the rules. Yeah, it's so silly.
I do appreciate that a lot of people on the LARP scene have said this is pretty accurate representation of LARPing. So that's cool. And it like I said,
just let me kill you.
Yeah, and I fought Thanos. That's such a good expression.
That was I enjoyed the LARPing scene quite a bit.
Yeah, I just like that it's not punching down at LARPing.
Yeah.
It is a cool big deal to be like, yeah, it's a bunch of cops and firemen, not like just nerds.
Yeah.
Because honestly, Hawkeye gets into it.
Yeah,
he does.
Like he's a little put upon, but at the end he's like, I had fun. Hey,
I love him just like the moment of him just slow motion going through, and he's like, I know how to fight, and they're all let's see. Clint learning to interact with people who admire him is neat. I do like that. I appreciate the fist bump he gives the LARPer. I thought that was cool. When he's like, man, you're Hawkeye, and he's like, all right, I'm Hawkeye. That's cool. We talked about the fencing. That was really good. I love the moment with the butterscotch. The callback in episode 2.
Oh yeah.
Which is when she realizes it's his monogrammed butterscotch, and he was the one who was at Armand's place. You have no idea.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, the butterscotch candy. Yeah. Now I remember.
Yeah. I thought that was just a good cheeky moment from him. He's good at being bad.
Yeah.
Want some candy?
In a similar energy, I also love Kate crashing in and Hawkeye just being like tied up, and he's like,
"Oh, I was just about to save you, you idiot."
I think that's really good.
Yeah.
I think like that energy works really well between them. And the last note I'll put out two things. I really like Clint saying that Natasha killed Ronan. I thought that was a really nice moment.
Yeah.
And done pretty well. And the other thing is, what do you guys think the watch is from the Avengers compound that they wanted in the beginning and we haven't brought up since then?
I don't know.
I mean, if it's Stark tech, that's dangerous.
I don't think it's Stark tech. I think it might be like it has the keys to opening something or something. Like it opens like an Avengers vault or something. I don't know.
It's either just a random watch that Steve Rogers was wearing one day, or it's Stark tech and it's important.
It's got to be.
It's like the watch where he uses in
Iron Man suit.
Yeah, it's like the watch he has in Civil War where he can like, have like a repulsor ray in his hand.
I don't feel like they would be doing all of this just for that.
No, yeah.
No tracksuit mafia.
I'm just very interested in what it is.
Renner does Hawkeye does bring up the idea that like why was there like there's a lot of Avengers compound stuff that's out in the wild now, like and I wonder if that's going to become maybe not this story, maybe not this show's arc, but like something that we revisit in the MCU in the future of like there's a lot of tech that was gone because someone took the Avengers compound.
That's what Armor Wars is probably going to be, because Armor Wars is about the world getting a hold of Tony Stark's technology.
That's a good point.
I just find it interesting because like you could have just as easily, because of what we know the Tracksuit Mafia is doing with Echo, said that they just found out that the Ronin outfit was there, so they went to apprehend it and try and get information about who Ronin was. But you specifically say that they were there to get that watch, and then it's like, oh, and then this Ronin shit happened, which also we conveniently needed to take care of.
The watch is going to be some MacGuffin for sure.
Right? Yeah.
No, but is it the watch, or is it just because they have bags of stuff that they are taking, and the guy like looks at the watch? I took it as like there's just a bunch of like Avengers compound stuff that they're taking.
It might have been both. Like we were here for this stuff, but like this is what we're here.
There's a line, because I saw it a second time. There's a line in the first episode where he says, "Find the watch.
Yeah.
Everything else is the watch is priority. Everything else is secondary or secondary or something like that." And then the watch shows up later. I didn't catch it the first time I watched it either, but they say that the second time, that when they first break in and they're flooding the base, so they are there for that.
Interesting. Okay.
I just hope it's not Iron Man stuff.
I mean, who else wears a watch in the Avengers?
No, I know, but like, do we have to keep relying on this for the Hawkeye show? We're doing this. Come on.
Maybe it's Hank Pym's watch. He just had it at the compound for some reason.
Scott, where's my watch?
Scott, where's my watch?
I could totally see that too. Just like instead of a clock, Hank's got a watch on the wall.
I mean, he had a tank as a keychain for X amount of years, so...
Hey, guys, Ant-Man's a good movie.
Ant-Man's a very good movie.
So was the second one, and so was the third one that we haven't seen yet.
I'm so excited for that third one.
Ant-Man prepared to have the best trilogy of the MCU.
It's true. Let's see. Yeah, so I think Yelena might be popping up in the next episode.
Yeah.
That's going to be exciting. We'll see how much she's relevant to everything.
Does she have the accent or no?
Yes. 100%.
Yes, she made her own vest.
Yes,
it's pretty cool.
This is the MCU where accents are just dropped and then you give a moment.
Pugh is a serious dramatic actor.
This is a different situation.
This is also not a made-up accent.
Yes, it's not.
I always like the idea that like they really worked hard on the Sokovian accent, and then like second movie in, she's just like, I don't want to keep doing this.
The other thing is, I love that I love that Daniel Bruhl comes in and he's like, I'm not doing the same thing. I think we'll come up with something else.
All right, I'm good. You guys good?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm great. I am more excited now that Echo and Uncle are involved. Now that we're bringing some of that that early 2000s Daredevil into it.
All I'm saying is that Fisk was wearing a black suit at the beginning of Daredevil, and now he wears a white suit.
This was
that would make some sense.
This was 1998 or whatever.
I'm just gonna be doing a prayer circle or something. I don't know what you
By the way,
I just want D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk again. Please give me that, Marvel.
The Echo origin starts in 2007, and I had to take a moment to be like, man, I'm getting old.
Echo's like
old, buddy.
Yeah, Echo's almost probably around our age. Hell yeah, kicking ass.
All right, that's that then, right?
Hell yeah, we will see how the rest of this season goes. If we'll talk about it next week, if it warrants next week, or we'll wait. We'll see how it goes. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm convinced I need to talk about this every week unless something crazy happens. That's on my opinion. We'll see.
Well, the holidays are coming up, so you never know. So, if you guys want to watch a Fake Nerds Watch that's going weekly, I have committed to doing Discovery with Mike from Downright Nerdy. So you can watch that.
3 seasons to catch up.
Yeah, right.
Don't worry about it. I can't wait to talk about this latest episode. It was so bad. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So that's going on right now. Hey guys, this is the Fake Nerd Family Podcast. This is Fake Nerds Watch. You can check out all sorts of cool stuff if you like this video and you subscribe to this channel. Honor System, guys, I'm trusting you. You can check out a ton of shows on this channel, such as Basement Arcade Pause Menu. Another Fake Nerds Watch series going concurrently where I'm talking with Downright Nerdy's own Michael Carls for Star Trek Discovery Season 4. That's been fun so far. 2 episodes are out right now. A third one will be recorded soon. There's Animation Station, there's Fake Nerd Book Club, and I think that's all the video stuff. But you can check out some of the audio stuff, such as my show Conversation, which probably I'm going to start working on again come January. So I'm excited about that. I'm reaching out to some people, so stay tuned. And hey guys, our main show, our mothership show, also goes live on YouTube every Sundays. And we have 3 more episodes of the year. We're going to be talking about the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films. We're going to be talking about the Marc Webb Spider-Man films. And then we're going to be talking about Spider-Man No Way Home. So 1, 2, 3. There you go.
Maybe a Matrix Resurrections special. Maybe. I want to really do it.
Hey, there will be some. There's a bit of a schedule on Instagram, and there will be some review specials for probably The King's Man and Matrix Resurrections. I think we're both interested in at least talking about those, and excited about one of them for sure. So of course, stay tuned. Tons of cool stuff. This week we're going to be talking about the Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films. That's going to be. That's probably already aired by the time you're watching this, right?
Probably. Maybe.
Yeah. So we've just done that then.
Who knows? I live on my own schedule. Nobody can stop me.
So stay tuned. So go back and watch that, or stay tuned for that, or stay tuned for the Marc Webb, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man films coming next.
Either way, this is Spidey December.
Just subscribe, and then it'll be there automatically.
That's also true. All right. I think that's everything that I got to plug. There's the Patreon, there's the TeePublic, there's our website at fakenerdpodcast.com. You can find me at BT McClure on Instagram and Twitter. Ben.
You can find me at BenMagnet27 on Instagram and Twitter.
Ryan.
You can find me at DJ Tony Snark everywhere. I'm no longer hacked.
No, it's DJ Tony Snark 616.
If you type in DJ Tony Snark, it still pops up because the other one got deleted, so I don't even want to say it.
Oh, good for them. They blocked us. They blocked me.
It's deleted, so I hope so.
Good.
Sparks.
You can find me at Sparks Witty on Instagram and Twitter, SPARKZ Witty.
And I guess Forrest, why not?
You can find me around.
Yeah!
All right.
Happy to be back.
All right. Hey, like this video, subscribe to this channel. Until next time you see us, stay fake nerds.